in the Muslim world, the best historian, in my opinion, is a guy named Ibn Al-Athir, a guy who was contemporary to the events that are happening and who spoke to people who were there. Athir writes the most horrific accounts of these Mongol attacks into the Middle East. And I don't know how historians, revisionist or otherwise, can downplay what he says. When they say he's exaggerating, why would he exaggerate? Listen to how he frames this, and you can tell that it is destroying him to even have to write it. Now, he's written a great history. He talks all about the contemporary crusades. You know, the Europeans are launching crusades against the Muslim world during this time, and Athir writes a great history of that. What he can't handle is writing what's happening now, that Genghis Khan's Mongols have turned their attention to the Islamic world and are beginning to destroy it. It will start with the Khwarezmian Shah in 1218. It won't end there. But here's how Al-Athir begins his history of these events, and you tell me if he sounds like he's magnifying, how bad they are. To me, it looks like he would try to find anything he could find that would show that he and his people had not been abandoned by their deity. Instead, he is crestfallen. The chapter is entitled, Account of the Eruption of the Tatars into the Lands of Islam. And Al-Athir writes, quote, For several years I continued to avoid mention of this disaster as it horrified me, and I was unwilling to recount it. I was taking one step towards it and then another back. Who is there who would find it easy to write the obituary of Islam and the Muslims? For whom would it be a trifling matter to give an account of this? Oh, would that my mother had not given me birth! Oh, would that I had died before it occurred, and been a thing forgotten, quite forgotten! However, a group of friends urged me to record it, although I was hesitant. I saw then that to leave it undone was of no benefit. But we state that to do it involves recounting the most terrible disaster and the greatest misfortune, one the like of which the passage of days and nights cannot reproduce. It comprised all mankind, but particularly affected the Muslims. If anyone were to say that since God, glory and power be his, created Adam until this present time, mankind has not had a comparable affliction, he would be speaking the truth. History books do not contain anything similar, or anything that comes close to it. End quote. In fact, Ibn al-Athir actually sort of from the grave addresses future historians. He acknowledges that the stuff he's talking about is almost unbelievable, but then he goes on to say that the people who lived through it can attest to it, and they know it happened, sort of pulling rank on later historians, when Al-Athir writes this, quote, Indeed, these Tatars had done something unheard of in ancient or modern times. A people emerges from the borders of China, and before a year passes, some of them reach the lands of Armenia in this direction, and go beyond Iraq in the direction of Hamadan. By God, there is no doubt that anyone who comes after us, when a long time has passed, and sees the record of this event, will refuse to accept it, and think it most unlikely, although the truth is in his hands. When he deems it unlikely, let him consider that we and all who write history in these times have made our record at the time, when everyone living knew of this disaster, both the learned and the ignorant, all equal in their understanding of it because of its notoriety. He says, May God provide for the Muslims and Islams someone to preserve and guard them, for they have been forced to meet a terrible enemy, and reduced, as for Muslim princes, to those whose aspirations do not go beyond their bellies and their private parts. Since the coming of the Prophet, God bless him and give him peace, until this present time, the Muslims have not suffered such hardship and misery as afflict them now.